right behind that Hypercity. Do you know the side
Yeah,
of town? हाँ, so in
kind
orbit
of.
mall,
Yeah.
Hypercity. हाँ, बस ठीक है, kind of की जरूरत है. So वहाँ पर there is one massive office, a 500 seater. So we can go there.
Oh,
So
that's
I try
excellent.
to, now move to this side of town for any office going.
That's excellent. Very good.
Yeah, makes us feel so much more comfortable.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately for us, we work every day from office, so it's tougher for the team here. But it's certain regulatory requirements that require us to work from office. So uh, yeah, I guess when you're governed by the RBI, you just follow what they
Yeah,
ask you to. Yeah.
correct, correct. Gaurav will be recording today's session. I hope that is okay with you.
No, it's absolutely fine. I hope it's worth recording. But
Of course. There are those who are going to go back and refer to it again and again. क्या कहा था गौरव ने? You know?
there are no magic words here. These are just,
No, no, most of
I
them will
think,
think, what did Mr. Rajput say? They won't say, what did Gaurav say? So,
they can just say, Gaurav, it's absolutely fine. For those of you who know me, I mean, I'm a very approachable, down to earth person. So that's how I like to think of myself, at least.
yes, yes. I'll give a nice intro of yours. When Before we begin, we'll just wait a few seconds and then I think
Sure,
we can begin in a couple of minutes. People are still
sure.
joining
No,
in.
yeah,
So,
no problem.
normally these end up being end of the day sessions. We keep it around 5 so that people are kind of done with their day and then can just relax and attend the whole session rather than trying to fit it in between meetings and missing anything.
No, no, it's a great idea. I think I've done a couple of these with some other partners in the past, and it's always fun to get both sides of the view. I look forward to questions because that's something which really puts me on the spot. So
Yeah.
yeah, that should be fun.
It should be fun and then you will have to be on your toes. So
It's very easy to talk about your career and your experiences, but when somebody asks you something, that's when you've got to suddenly put your thinking hat on, right? So I look forward to that. Yeah.
correct, correct, correct. So guys, should we start off or are we going to wait longer? I think let's start. We have about 30 odd people here, so we can start off. I'm just going to do a quick introduction. So hello everyone, welcome to today's mentor mentee session. um, Gaurav, this learning and exchange forum, it has been active for almost 6 months now, and we have done more than 45 sessions through this, so cheers to all of us. Today, I'm very pleased to introduce Mr. Gaurav Rajput, our distinguished guest. He's a very dynamic and multidimensional personality. We will be putting the spotlight on these interesting facets as we explore Gaurav's journey over the years. He will be sharing his expertise and insights with us as an esteemed professional from Standard Chartered Bank, known for his profound knowledge and exceptional contributions to the industry. Gaurav is the MD and Head Marketing, Brand Corporate Affairs India and South Asia, and he's also the Head Consumer Bank Marketing Asia at SCB. Gaurav brings with him a wealth of experience and expertise in the banking sector, albeit with a specialization in marketing. Unexpected that. With an illustrious career spanning over 25 years, and I'm pretty sure some of you must have trawled his LinkedIn profile as well. Gaurav actually began with advertising. So he is a brother in arms with us. He possesses the unique ability to simplify complex concepts, making them accessible and actionable for a very diverse audience, which we are today. We shall be the beneficiaries of that. During our chat, Gaurav will delve into a few topics which we have curated for you. His insights and real world examples will provide invaluable perspectives for all of us, equipping us with the knowledge and tools to navigate the evolving market landscape with some confidence. Gaurav is very dedicated. His excellence combined with his ability to connect with audiences ensures a very captivating and then enriching experience for participants. He has a very engaging speaking style. You have already seen it. I have experienced it myself. And he always creates an environment which is conducive to meaningful discussions. Your questions are welcome. Please jump in whenever you have to say anything. We are very honored to have you, Gaurav, as a speaker at our Mentor Mentee Forum. Everyone, please join me in extending a warm welcome to Gaurav as he shares his insights and expertise with us. Thank you for your attention, and we look forward to active participation. The first thing which we want to start off with actually is Gaurav's experience across a number of markets. So he's not worked just in India. He's been in London, he's been in Singapore, he's worked in Bombay, of course, and he's developed an appreciation for multicultural nuances, matrix structures. There is corporate governance, which is different in these different markets, as well as regulatory practices. Let's lean in on his experiences and get a feel for the various market nuances from Gaurav.
Amita, firstly, thank you very much for the introduction. I was wondering who you were talking about when you were saying all these complimentary and nice things, because I definitely couldn't relate to them. But
Ooh,
thank you so much.
modesty, इतनी modesty नहीं चाहिए हमको.
No, but it's sometimes when you think, oh my God, are they actually saying all these nice things about you? But no, thank you for that, and thank you to everyone who's joined the call. I think it's really nice to be able to speak to some of you, and like Amita said, please ask me questions. That's, I think, really when we'll have a meaningful exchange and dialogue. So feel free to reach out. Uh, well, like Amita said, it's been a long career now. It's been 27 years in the corporate world, and like she mentioned, I started my career in advertising. Those are still my most favorite years of my career. My first 6 years, I started in FCB, Ulka, and then I moved to Rediffusion. I worked with many people in the media side because that time we had this whole concept of one agency, right? So there was no separate media buying and media planning team. They were all sitting on the same floor adjacent to each other. So I think I benefited a lot from that as a young marketer, as a young advertising professional. I think we learned to do many things which people today don't get the opportunity to do, and that was a good experience. But I think coming back to Amita's question, yeah, it's been a fascinating journey. I've worked in the UK with Citibank. I've worked in Singapore with Citibank. Worked with Aviva in Gurugram or Gurgaon as it was then called. Worked with Citi in Chennai. Worked with in Mumbai, of course, for many years. So home is really Mumbai for me. But I think the interesting thing of working in these different places is you actually learn different things. So
Correct.
UK was very fascinating. I moved when I was in Mumbai. I moved to the UK, and I was very young that time. And I think one of the things I realized was, that we play, we lay so much emphasis on jugaad in India, right? Of getting things done and getting things done quickly, and getting things done very fast. But in the UK, they lay a lot of emphasis on process. So it was a very different kind of a scenario for me because I came from this highly charged environment of getting things done quickly, and suddenly there when we were launching a new product, I remember for the first 3 months all we did was write process notes, and we actually tested the processes for another 3 months after that to make sure that when the product is actually launched, it is running very seamlessly in a foolproof way. Obviously, there were still challenges, but I think the challenges were far low. So I think if I look at the UK, very different culture from India, in the sense very process oriented, can be considered bureaucratic as well. But I
Are
think
they
when they
inclusive, Gaurav, ethnically?
Yeah, extremely inclusive. I mean, it's a very welcoming environment. I mean, it's reflected in the fact that they have a person of Indian origin who's their prime minister today, right? So, but I think they're very welcoming, even socially. We would always catch up for drinks after work, and everybody in the office used to come down. I used to work in a place called Canary Wharf in London. For those of you who've been there, it's a really vibrant place, and everybody goes for drinks afterwards. But I must tell you a funny thing, so. I always used to say that UK was way ahead of its time because it adopted a 4-day week before anybody else. Because when you got in on a Monday morning, all you spoke about was what you did over the weekend,
Over the
right? So the
weekend.
first half of the day went in that, right? So half day you were pretty much faffing around. Then the next 4 days you worked, okay, and then Friday afternoon everybody disappears after lunch. So
They're
effectively,
planning their weekend.
they all leave. They don't even plan. They just leave. So
They
they'll
just
go out
leave.
for a beer lunch, and after that, everybody disappears. So it's a different environment. But professionally, I learned a lot. I think I just learned to be a lot more process oriented, a lot more, follow certain steps and procedures, which sometimes we don't lay a lot of emphasis on in India. But it's important if you want to build long-term and robust processes. So I think that worked really well. Then, of course, I worked in Singapore. Singapore is a fascinating city to work in because, we think we are competitive, but I can tell you Singaporeans are twice as competitive as we are. Okay, so they will work very hard. They will work very competitively to make sure that they're delivering a quality product, and they lay a lot of emphasis on the quality of work. So therefore, if you see presentations, for example, from your counterparts sometimes in Singapore, the
Hmm.
quality of the presentations is really good. I don't know how
Yeah.
they do it, but their quality of presentations is really good. So that was another aspect that I learned. And then, of course, it's just working in multicultural, sorry, 1 second, working in multicultural environments, which is what made it, sorry, just give me 1 second. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, so working in these multicultural environments gives you a great sense of diversity, inclusivity, and
Hmm.
working with all kinds of people, and it's just a very good experience.
Yeah, I like working in Singapore too. Not that I have stayed there and worked, but in a couple of occasions, I have worked with a lot of, group agency people from various places because of a network agency. And it's always been a, good experience, very positive.
Yeah, they're very good at their work, and more importantly, they push you to be better. And
Correct.
I think the interesting thing in Singapore is that because it's such a multicultural organization country, right? So it's very open to new ideas, and they like Indians. Not so much anymore, but they used to. So I
Yeah.
think that's because wherever we go, we kind of tend to take over, right? But it's a great place to work. Yeah.
What about comparing Bombay versus Singapore versus London? Which do you think is the best one?
Well, I'm obviously very biased towards Mumbai because it's my hometown, it's where I've grown up. But I think just in terms of professionalism and in terms of the most that I learned in my career, that was probably in Singapore. Because I was at a slightly senior role by then, so I learned to deal with different dynamics of organizations, and also the fact that you were getting into a scenario where you were dealing with multiple countries at the same time, so your learning curve was very, very steep. But yeah, I think each city has its own ups and downs and benefits, but I think Singapore from a professional standpoint was my biggest learning curve.
Okay, okay. So you have, Gaurav, like you said, started with advertising, moved into media, and it's been a pretty seamless segue from advertising to media to marketing. And so, any particular thing which you think you picked up, at junctures in your journey, which you want to talk to us about?
Yeah, so I always say I'm an accidental banker, right? Which is what I
Yeah.
told you when we spoke earlier, because I was never good at numbers. I was never good at accounting. I was always onto the creative side of things. But I think things have happened pretty much by chance for me, right? So I was in Rediffusion when I got a call from Raj, who was the head of NDTV, saying, would I like to come and join him? And I moved to NDTV, and I realized that marketing in a television channel is very different to marketing in either an advertising agency or at any other consumer, because it's very simplistic advertising. So they'll just put a picture of the show and the main protagonists, and that's it.
That's
That's
it.
marketing for them, right? So I mean, even NDTV, when I joined them, we were launching both NDTV India and NDTV 24/7 at that time, and that's when I joined them. And it was very simplistic. You put a picture of Pranoy there, or you put a picture of Rajdeep, who was that time with NDTV, and you just say, "Oh, news at 10 or news at 9," and that was advertising and marketing, right? So there wasn't too much strategy, there wasn't too much thinking.
Hello?
Sorry,
हाँ
is
जी
there
हाँ
a
जी हाँ
question?
Bhailo, please mute yourself.
Yeah, that's okay.
Thank you.
So yeah, so I think marketing in television channels was a little simplistic at that time. So, but marketing in a bank is very, very different.
Yeah.
It's something which is I think. Sorry, can you be on
Hang
mute?
on.
Yeah, yeah. I think it's gone, Amita. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think marketing in a bank is very different. It's a very different challenge because, in banks, typically it's very simplistic. You put out a rate or you put out this is the product benefit and that's it, right? So uh, I have never really believed in that theory. I've tried to do things a little differently. I don't know how far I've succeeded, but I've tried to do things a little differently because I think that, at the end of the day, it's not just about all these products are very commoditized. So, like,
Hmm.
a toothpaste is a toothpaste. It is commoditized, right? A savings account is a savings account, fairly commoditized.
7% FD or that
Correct.
6.5%.
Correct. So, how do you create a slight differentiated message? How do you create a slightly differentiated proposition? Is what is the challenging bit. And while it's a boring category, it's not the most exciting category. You're not launching Aston Martins or a nice looking bike or something like that. But it's still very interesting because the consumer is so different, right? I mean, a
Yeah.
25-year-old consumer thinks so differently from a 50-year-old consumer. Money
Right.
means different things to people at different stages in their life. Money means a very different thing to me today than it did when I was 25 years old, right? So the definition of money changes, and with that, so has your communication to change to that person as well. So I think that's been an interesting aspect for me in the BFSI sector.
Can you talk to us about your IDFC experience? Employee
Yeah, so
number one.
yeah, so IDFC, now it's called IDFC First Bank, but
Right.
that time it was just called IDFC Bank when we launched it in 2015. And I was the first employee in marketing. There was nobody there. So I was hired and I was told, okay, will you be CMO? I said, yeah, sure, I'll be CMO. So I said, but, where's the team? So they said, no, no, you have to build the team. There's nobody there. So
Uh,
I pretty much hired everybody in that team. So there was a head of marketing for consumer, a head of marketing for corporate, there was a digital marketing lead. So we set up all those teams. But I think the highlight for me at IDFC was when we launched the bank, right? So in 2015, when we launched the bank, we actually launched it at the Prime Minister's residence in Delhi.
oh,
So the
wow.
Prime Minister, who was Narendra Modi at that time, as is now, we went to his residence and we had, because the government used to own a part of IDFC, they used to own 16%. So they were very keen to launch the bank at that time. So we went to his residence, and the whole idea was that we were going to demonstrate, a new technology, which was what we called a mobile ATM. So somebody just had to put their thumbprint on a machine, and the machine would recognize you from your thumbprint, and it would issue you whatever amount you entered, right? So it was a
Oh, super.
very super
Nice and
technology,
innovative.
very yeah. So we said, if we're going to launch the bank, let's do something different and let's launch it demonstrating this capability in front of the Prime Minister. Now, when we went there, we did a recce. We realized that all the signals there are barred. All the telecom signals are all barred
Oh,
because of safety reasons. So we said, now how do we, this runs on a SIM card. So we said, how do we, launch this? Because it's just not going to work. So then we were told that, the only SIM cards that work here are BSNL SIM cards. The Bharat
Yeah, yeah.
Sanchar Nigam, the
Ah.
government company. So we had to get that. Now, by the time we got it, we couldn't do another recce because you're allowed only once to enter and do your recce, and then next day you have to go and do the final, demonstration. So here we're sitting with Prime Minister Modi, with
Oh.
Arun Jaitley sitting there. There was a finance minister. There was Jayant Sinha, who was the assistant finance or the minister of finance.
Oh.
And we are demonstrating a technology which we've not tested. Okay,
Oh.
because yeah, and we're
Didn't you have
hoping
all your fingers crossed, Gaurav, at that moment?
fingers, toes, everything that could be possibly crossed was crossed because we had also got these ladies from backward classes to come and actually demonstrate that, look, anybody can do this. So, they were going to put their thumbprint and it was going to work and they were going to get like, 500 rupees from the machine. So we actually did it outside with them and it was working fine. And we went inside and before he was to come in, we said, let's try it once, you know, and we tried it and it didn't work.
And
So I was the host. So I was doing the comparing for the event which was there. And you know, looked at my CEO and I said, should we just scrap it? And should we just make him light a lamp and leave it at that? And he said, don't worry, just do it once time. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, we'll explain to him how it works, and we'll tell him that because of these reasons it couldn't work. And you won't believe it, when we actually were running through the show, it was being telecast live on Doordarshan. Okay. And
oh,
uh, and we did it and it worked. So
वाह वाह
it was,
वाह 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 वाह
yeah,
डिलीवरेंस
so it
सुपर हो गया
was,
ना ये
yeah, completely unexpected, but it was probably a big highlight of my career, doing that at the Prime Minister's office.
I can
So
completely imagine it must be such a wow feeling, especially because
yeah,
everything went through.
yeah, and especially because we did it the first time and it didn't work. So
Yeah,
actually, any person, any sane person would have said, "Let's not try it," right in front of the Prime
correct.
Minister. But I think the CEO then, a gentleman called Rajiv Lal, he was, incredibly brave. He said, "Look, let's try it. It's if it doesn't work, we'll explain it that what our
Explain.
intent was." Yeah. So I said, "Okay, fair enough." So
A bit of a risk taker and a gambler, I think, somewhere in his heart, and it paid off. Very
absolutely,
good,
absolutely.
very good. And that was a super example of celeb power, Gaurav. Let's talk a little about that. How celebrities are used, how we have used celebrities for our own campaigns, how you think it makes sense or not.
Yeah. So, it depends from for every brand. I mean, there are brands that use celebrities all the time. We've seen it over the years, right? And it works for them. Some brands, frankly, use them, but they don't use them very well. I've been fortunate enough. I was at Aviva. I was the CMO at Aviva, and I had Sachin as my brand ambassador that time. And Sachin was an incredibly sweet guy to work with, Sachin Tendulkar. He was a really
Hmm.
sweet guy, very accommodating. I mean, the amount of mini bats I've made him sign, I don't think that many have ever been produced also, because the poor guy, every time we were doing a shoot with him, we would put some 100 bats in front of him and, ask him to sign
Hit
those,
the
which we
sign.
would then use, yeah, as merchandise and stuff like that. But he was incredibly sweet and incredibly accommodating, right? And then, of course, we had Anushka recently. Anushka was, I shouldn't say this publicly, but was difficult, right? Because she was very clear that there were certain things that she would do and there were certain timelines that she wanted to maintain. She was very professional, very supportive, but very also, that this is what is
Boundaries.
within my contract. Yeah, this is what I will deliver. This is what I will not do. So fair enough. I mean, I think every celebrity has their own quirks and, little nuances about them. But I think for us, what we tried to do, and I'll talk more about Anushka, is that right from our first campaign that we did with Anushka, I was very clear that I didn't want a celebrity just standing there. Very often celebrities are standing there holding a board or, pointing at the product or, just sitting on a laptop if it's an e-commerce site and that's it. They don't have any role to play. But with Anushka, for example, our first film, when I came on board, we actually made her play a triple role. So we
Mhm.
wanted to show that our products and services can be used by all generations and can be used by everybody in the family. So Anushka, and we said, look, we have Anushka Sharma. She's a great actor, and she's really versatile in the roles that she does and everything. So why don't we use her acting ability, right, and showcase that to bring our products alive? So actually, in that, we made one film with her where Anushka plays a triple role. She plays the role of herself, she plays the role of her grandmother, and she plays the role of her mother. Okay, so there are three generations of Anushkas in the same film, and they're all actually interacting with each other and interacting with our products at the same time. So it was a nightmare to shoot because we had to shoot the same sequence three times with three different makeups and stuff like that. But it was very satisfying at the end because we, used her acting capability, which I was very keen to use.
Hmm.
And I think another example is when Anushka was pregnant, right? So typically, celebrities, when they're at a stage where they're having babies, they don't want to be in the public eye because they
Yeah.
feel that sometimes it changes the public's perception of them. But we were very keen to actually use her pregnant state to, say that it doesn't matter. You're a woman, you're pregnant, that's great. It's a celebration of life, and we should use you still in the campaign that we were planning for you. And we built the whole campaign around the fact that she was pregnant. So we showed her doing yoga, we showed her indulging in food, because she was in a state where she had a baby with her and stuff like that. And the fact that it was COVID time, so she didn't want to step out and go to a branch, so she could do banking from her couch. We actually flipped it around. We
Hmm.
used it to our advantage in a way, and it worked really well. So yeah, I think you use celebrities in different ways, but for us, I think I've always tried to use them in a way where we showcase their ability, whether it's a sports person or whether it's an actor, and try and make them relatable, because they're human
Hmm.
beings as well. So, in fact, with Sachin, we did a film where we showed him as a father,
Hmm.
and he had the same concerns for his children that you and I or some others may have about their own children, right? How are they going to
Correct.
grow up? What are they going to grow up and do? And that came out of a conversation with Sachin. So Sachin was talking about Arjun, and I was talking
Hmm.
about my son, who were both the same age. And he was asking me, what does my son plan on doing? And I was asking him, what does his son plan on doing? And that
Correct.
became the germ of an idea to use him as a father in a film that we were making for an insurance brand.
Hmm. So, do you think that all brands benefit from celebrity usage, Gaurav? Or are there specific occasions or brands you think which benefit more from it?
So I think sometimes the brand can uh, get overshadowed by the celebrity, because you see that sometimes when, like Dhoni, for example, such a big personality, right? There are some brands that he endorses which you don't even recall what is the brand. You don't recall. Okay, you see an ad, you probably see Dhoni, but you don't recollect what was the brand that he was advertising. So I think brands have to be a little careful in finding the balance between the celebrity that they use and the brand and their own brand, that their brand doesn't get overshadowed, because uh, it can happen. If you're a smaller brand, and sometimes the personality of the celebrity can just overshadow you.
So, how did you hone in on Anushka for your SCB?
Yeah, so Anushka was an interesting choice. I can't take credit for appointing her because she had already been signed on by the time I joined. But the thinking was that we wanted a person who was very, very active on social media. And Anushka has close to 50 million followers on social media. And we wanted someone who was a self-made personality, so someone who had really built their career themselves, because we felt that was a value that we wanted to be associated with. She doesn't come from a filmy background. She has no linkages to the film industry. So she's a
Uh,
self-made woman. She's very diverse. She runs her own production company, her own OTT company, and stuff like that. And she's got those kind of interests. And more importantly, she appeals to a younger audience, which is what we wanted the brand to do, which was to try and appeal to a younger audience. So a lot of the values that she had were
Mm.
values that we wanted to be associated with. And that was the reason why we kind of took the decision to sign her.
That's nice. And it's also good that she kind of worked so well for us.
Yeah.
We were discussing, Gaurav, do you have anything which you want to share with us in terms of media assets? Did you prepare anything?
No,
No?
unfortunately, I couldn't.
Okay.
I unfortunately was ill a couple of days, so I wasn't in office.
Ouch.
But yeah, so but I'll try and send you some links maybe after this
Yeah, that'll be good. I
and
will
share that with
circulate
you.
it to the team so they can have a look at some of the things we are, talking about. Do you want to talk about our current campaign, We Go Deeper? Because that
Yeah,
is surely a very good one.
yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, I don't know how many of your participants here have seen it, but it was a campaign which is very different from a regular banking campaign. And I think it was very consciously different because, you know, I think all banks and all insurance companies have got into this rut of, showing happy families, the promise of a brighter future, that we'll help you plan for your retirement. We will help you live your second innings to its fullest. It's become such a cliche, that sometimes if you cover the brand, you won't know that, is this an insurance company? Is this an AMC? Is it a bank? Who is advertising? Right. So I wanted to break that mold a little bit and I wanted to do something very different. And I remember when we briefed the agency, I told the agency that, look, always banks tell you what you should be doing,
Mm.
right? They'll tell you should plan for your future. You should plan for your retirement. You should plan for your kids' education. I said, I don't think people need to be told that, right? I mean, today, I'm sure, Amita, you've thought about planning for your future. You've thought about, kids' education and all that. It's normal human behavior. We
Correct.
know that, our kids don't have the benefit of going to public schools, unlike the West. Okay,
Mm.
we don't have the benefit of social security, right? So we have to fend for ourselves once we retire. So why do I keep telling people plan for your future? I mean, he's not an idiot. He is going to plan for his future. uh, I need to tell him how to plan for his future. Okay.
Yeah.
So I think what I wanted to do with this campaign was focus more on the how and less on the, what.
Mm.
Because the what everybody knows, yes, I need to plan for my future. But how do I do it? Can you tell me that? Or
Mm.
can you tell me what is it that you're good at that I should be hence, banking with you? So these were some of the factors that went into consideration when we developed the campaign. The big thing was the look and feel. So we went with this whole idea of animals and how animals camouflage themselves, right? And how they, it's very difficult to spot a tiger in high grass, in tall grass, right? Or it's
Correct.
very difficult to spot an alligator in green algae water, right? And we use that as a medium to say, look, have you tried looking beyond the surface? Have you tried to go deeper to really see what is it that lies behind what is obvious, right?
Mm.
And that is what we as a bank do as well. We try and give you deeper insights. We try and give you deeper knowledge, deeper research to help you take decisions which aren't obvious.
Mm.
Today you speak to an RM, he'll say, "Ye SIP chalu kar do." Ye insurance policy khareed do, right? And sometimes we blindly do it, right? But as a bank, our philosophy is that, look, we won't just tell you buy this product. We'll try and give you the research and the understanding for you to help take a decision which is well thought through. And I think that's what we tried to do through this campaign. So, I mean, credit to you guys, credit to our agency, creative agency, and Densu both, for really amplifying the campaign the way it got amplified. It's already started winning
Thank
awards. I know
you.
you guys collected some awards the other day.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, we're very happy with the way the campaign's planned out. And in fact, when we did this campaign in India, it's become the base to do it in other countries as well now. So, they're going to take the insight and the proposition and see how to develop it in other markets. So I'm very happy with it. It's interesting to do nice
Huh.
creative work, which you don't
Yeah,
see in this category.
absolutely. Absolutely. But tell me something now. This approach, which you have just described, is very different from having the celeb, backing your brand approach. So, do you want to kind of comment on that a little?
Yeah, so I think the celeb approach worked for us at a time when we needed it, which was when
Hmm.
we were trying to, make the brand younger, trying to reach out to a younger audience, etc. But now I think it's more about focusing on the affluent segment. So strategically, we are very clear now that we want to focus on the affluent segment, and for that, really, we need uh, to demonstrate how we are good at wealth management, and that's what we want to focus on going forward. So I think. This campaign is the first step. The subsequent campaigns that we're now thinking of developing will be on similar lines. They'll keep building on this idea that we've managed to crack right now.
The we go deeper thought.
Correct. Yes, that's right.
So when we talk about these, affluent segments, etc. Now, since that category is really people, I mean, the audience is really not very large. How do we justify the, mass media usage versus doing this absolutely niche type of campaigns?
Yeah, so I think any advertising benefits all products, right? So
So,
today, if I were to do a credit card campaign, it would still benefit wealth as well, right? So
yeah.
at the end of the day, it's your brand which is out there. It's your brand which is speaking for a particular product. So I think of it as what do I want to be known for today? I want to be known for wealth management, right? If you ask me, are we very big in credit cards? No, we're not.
Mm-hmm.
There are bigger players. There's SBI, HDFC, ICICI, who are bigger players than us. Uh, but wealth management is a space where I think we can compete, and we can compete, effectively against anybody in the market. So I'd like to, because I have minimal dollars, right? Every bank, every client of yours will always tell you budget nahi hai, right? So I mean, story of our lives, right? So uh, जो थोड़ा budget है, I might as well utilize that where I feel I'll get the biggest bang for my buck.
तो थोड़ा बजट थोड़ा जरा बढ़ा देना the rest of the year. I know that was not the objective of this talk at all, but since you raised it, I will not let this opportunity go. है ना? So we should actually focus on increasing that, Gaurav. हाँ? ये तो बहुत ही कम है.
अमिता ये घूम फिरा के वहीं पे आती है. When I
नहीं
was
बोलना
on the
चाहिए था ना.
when I
नहीं
was on
बोलना
the
चाहिए था.
agency side, even I used to tell the client क्या कर रहे हो यार, budget थोड़ा बढ़ा दो.
है ना?
But
हाँ.
क्या
No,
करें?
it's a story of our life. Yeah, there is this RF1, RF2, RF3. Are you aware of these RFs? You must be having them too, right?
No, we
Revenue
don't have.
forecasts. Oh, you don't have those? We
Oh,
have
we do.
these
We
every
have.
quarter. You have them,
Yeah,
na? Everybody
we
has
call
them.
them differently. Yeah, we call
Ah,
them
okay,
different.
okay. So we keep revising our RFs, as we go along. But वो 4 बार होता है साल में. So every time before that, then I, reach out to you or your team. कि भाई क्या forecast करूँ मैं? So that's
Yeah.
why. Anyway. So let's hear some more from you about what your plans are for the future.
Yeah. So, well, I have the bank's plans and my own plans, but
Yes, yes, both.
no, so I've always laid a disproportionate emphasis on people in my team, right? So I think I've always believed that when you work with people, your relationships are far more important than the transactional work that we do. It's because I mean I don't know I guess always been fortunate to have good managers, and I've learned from them that people are very often not loyal to organizations, but they're loyal to people that they work with, right? And I have seen that a lot, to be honest with you. It's something which I value. I mean, there are people whom I've worked with over the years who've all been in touch with me. They've worked now in different geographies, but they're all still in touch with me, and that's really the huge capital that I feel I've earned in my career. Uh, but for me, I think it's about, mentoring people. It's about giving them good quality advice. I have never till today told somebody that, if you've got a good job, don't go. I've always
Mm.
told them go. Because I've said that, look, if you're getting a great opportunity and it's good for your career, you should take it. And sometimes I've also told them don't take it because it's not a good career opportunity. So don't just chase the money, because there are points in times when people chase the money, right? And rightly
Yeah.
so. I mean, nobody works for fresh air and love. Everybody works for money, right? So I get that. But sometimes, and I've seen this, people take decisions based on money, and their careers can get derailed, and they don't think from the longer term perspective. Uh, so my focus is really on people now. I don't do the day-to-day work as much as I used to. I focus a lot on mentoring, on training, on knowledge sharing, and that's why I was happy to do this session. But for me, I think personally, I have a slightly different bent of mind. I have another maybe 10 years to work, but I don't think I'll be working for 10 years. I'll probably work for another 3, 4 years, and then I want to go into the NGO space, into the social space, because I'm very passionate about that. I run that vertical at Standard Chartered as well. And yeah, that's a space that I personally want to get into. And
That's very
as a back,
interesting. I had no
yeah.
idea that there was a NGO vertical at SCB. So, what do you do there exactly? Tell us more about it.
So, like every organization, we have to contribute 2% of our profits
Right,
to
right.
CSR. So
Mm,
we do that very seriously. We have
yeah.
three themes that we run. One is called Seeing is Believing, which is in the space of preventable blindness. The second theme is Future Makers, which is in the space of providing livelihood and skilling to people. And the third is in the space of WASH. It's called WASH, which is water and sanitation. These are three themes that we run at Standard Chartered, and there's a fairly huge budget because we're quite a profitable organization. So we don't believe in cutting checks. So a lot of people, just give a donation to the
Contribute,
Prime
yeah.
Minister's Relief Fund or to the Chief Minister's Fund and meet their obligation. We don't do that. We actually run projects. So currently we have around 35 projects running across the country. And each of these is working at a grassroots level with people to try and improve the lives of the communities in which we operate in. So it's something which I personally feel very strongly about, and maybe in another 3 years, if I'm financially secure, then I will probably go down that path.
It's very commendable, Gaurav. A lot of people, just pay lip service to it. But it's nice to hear when people actually do something. And like you said, cutting a check versus really doing something at the grassroots level is, I think it's really commendable. Because
Yeah,
most
and
of the
we
times, yeah, yeah.
No, I was just going to add that we take it quite seriously, that responsibility. We've been running preventable blindness programs in the country for the last 20 years now. So Seeing is Believing is a 20-year-old program. And it's like, a lot of NGOs do work in the space of girl child or in the space of education, nutrition, livelihood, etc. But preventable blindness is one of the biggest areas of our country, which is very, very neglected. So, we took that on as a cause around 20 years back. And subsequently, we've supported it for the last 20 years. And it's made a huge difference. I mean, there are districts which we have made blind free because of the work that we do in those districts. And we work with multiple partners, it's whether it's the Shroff Eye Clinic or whether it's, others that we work with. There's a lot of work
Hmm.
that we've done in that space. And it gives you a lot of satisfaction doing that kind of work, because you feel like you're genuinely making a difference. Otherwise,
Yeah.
bankers can be seen as capitalist sharks, right? So this is one aspect of my job which makes me feel good about it.
And that's very nice. So actually at Densu also we have some of these philosophies, and there are not, I don't think we do it at the scale at which you do probably, but there are days which are dedicated to doing something good for the society. I think I feel really good about it when I hear and see and see it getting done in reality rather than just discussions around boardrooms and coffee breaks. So it's a very good thing to be in this space also. Yeah. Good. Is there anything else which you would like to add on, Gaurav, or we can invite some questions from the people around?
No, I just want to say the last thing is that, I've been in an agency and I know that, it's it's tough because clients can be tough. And I'm a client, so I know I am tough at times too. Uh, but generally speaking, I think, I have seen agencies from the inside as well as now from the outside for a long time, right? Uh, I find that the level of professionalism in agencies has gone up a lot, right? In terms of the people, especially media agencies, like yourselves. I feel that there's a lot of specific skill sets that are now getting developed and
Right.
that are being brought to the table, which is a really good thing, because I think clients today don't have the wherewithal to invest in a lot of these things in-house, right? So in the erstwhile days, I remember there used to be, media departments within companies, right? Uh, Companies can't afford that anymore. So they need to rely a lot more on their media partners. Uh, but that said, I think one of the things which I've always found as a gap, and this is not criticism of you guys or anything, I'm just talking generally in terms of agencies, is that I feel that there can be more of an effort to understand the client's business, that can be made. Not just from a media agency standpoint, from a creative agency standpoint, or, from a content agency standpoint, or from a,
Yeah.
uh, you know, I feel that's an area where all agencies can really up uh, their knowledge quotient, right? You may not do
Right.
it for all 100 of your clients, right? But at least your top 20 clients. I think, every agency should make it their business to know their business, their client's business, at least to some level.
Absolutely right. You know, Gaurav, you've hit the nail on the head. Absolutely, and hit it like really hard, because this is just what we are trying to practice at Densu also. So there is this concept in Japan which they call igyo. So the igyo, I don't know the exact meaning of the word, but then the best explanation which I have for it is exactly what you've said. This is the guy who literally holds the business and knows more about the business than the person who's helming the business. So he should be able to anticipate your problems, your successes, your challenges, and provide solutions for that. So this EGO person will be the one who can understand a creative challenge or a media challenge or a data challenge or even something else like a supply chain or partnerships or something which he can work out for you. So exactly what you said. I think we're slowly trying to build it at Densu. We have tried it on a couple of clients in India also, and of course, the Japanese teams have been implementing it for some years now. So on Standard Chartered also there is an IGO, I think. There is somebody in place who looks at that. We have for a few other clients in India also. And I think it's a model which is picking up across agencies. You mentioned in the beginning, when you gave your example of the Rediff days, that it was one agency, everything was within that. And you understood a lot of the functions over the years. Because of that decentralization of everything, media became very media, creative was only creative, and now they're trying to get everything back again with the specialization, of course, retained in it, but kind
Yeah.
of.
No, absolutely. I think it's very important because see, clients today don't want to deal with multiple people, multiple agencies, right? They want to work in a consolidated fashion because I can't. I mean, just as you're stretched for time, even I'm stretched for time. So, I don't have the bandwidth to brief three people three different times, right? So,
Like,
I think that concept is coming back in a way, which is good because, frankly, I think agencies lost a lot of good talent, to
hmm,
the corporate side, and you know, people you will attract good talent and people will want to stay in agencies if they feel that they're more well-rounded in their knowledge and in the way that they deal with clients. uh, but I think especially on the media side, the skill set explosion that has happened and the knowledge that people have today, is phenomenal. I love interacting with media agencies because I learn so much, and the media is also constantly evolving, right? I mean, there was one time when we used to talk about TAM, and there was that was the Holy Bible, and everything and started and ended there.
Ended there.
Uh, yeah, today it's Bark, or tomorrow it'll be something else. I don't know, but I mean, what is the future of television advertising at all, right?
Mm.
Is a question that many people have on the client side, right? So today, for example, when I talk to some of my colleagues internationally, they'll say, "Oh, y'all still do television in India?" Because we don't do television anymore. It's too fragmented. It's too driven by OTT, etc. Right? So I guess there's so much happening in the sector that you're constantly learning, and for me, that's always good to interact with media agencies.
Nice, nice, nice. Guys, Gaurav is with us for another 10 minutes. Okay, you heard he's very, very busy. So, you guys want to ask your questions, put up your hands, and you have access to him for a little while. कुछ पूछना है तो पूछ लो.
हाँ जबरदस्ती नहीं है. I mean, you you don't have to ask a question if you don't want to,
No, no,
but
I'm not holding any gun.
yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions. It's always fun to interact with agency folk.
Yeah.
सुला दिया क्या मैंने? Huh? I think I put everybody to sleep at the end of the day.
Not at all. You can see I'm fully awake. Do you hire agency people in your company, in banks rather, not your company particularly, but
We haven't hired anyone recently, but that's not because of any other reason. It's just that I did
functionally
hire
we are not
someone.
compatible?
No, I think, sometimes what happens is, especially banks can be a little stuffy and a little too straight-jacketed for agency folks, right? You guys are, y'all are used to running free and wild, which unfortunately in banks we can't do. We're a bit too
Hmm.
straight-jacketed. Achi, anything else or
I think
any?
most of the people here seem very overawed. कोई कुछ बोल ही नहीं रहा है. Normally they are a slightly noisier crowd.
Maybe I'm a banker, so they're scared कि ये शायद पता नहीं आरबीआई वगैरह को कंप्लेन ना कर दे, तो ऐसा कुछ नहीं है भाई.
Ah.
Please don't worry. I like I said, enjoy interacting with agency people. So
But thank you, Gaurav. I think I've had a lovely time talking to you and hearing about your
sorry,
journey.
Amita, sorry, I think there's a question on the
Yeah.
chat.
On
Yeah.
chat. इतना शर्मा शर्मी. अरे भाई, please unmute yourself and
Sorry,
talk.
no, there's a lot of background noise, so that's why I dropped it. I'm so sorry about that.
No,
Hmm.
no problem.
How do changes in RBI regulations impact the approach on marketing? All right.
Yeah, so that's a good question because the RBI is obviously is quite a strict regulator, but I think they do most things right, and they've actually been quite liberal in the last few years. But I think from an RBI perspective, frankly, it's not so much RBI, it's more people like ASCII, people like the self-governing regulators of marketing and advertising, who tend to put more restrictions on us. I think the only restriction we have from RBI is that don't be misleading, because these are financial products and services. So they want to make sure that if somebody is buying a product, he has all the relevant information, and is making an informed decision. So they just tell us that, look, please be very explicit with your disclaimers, please be very explicit in the product features, etc., that you're putting out there. But they're not otherwise, they're not too concerned about what we say and how we say it. So they're quite liberal in that matter. The only one restriction which they have, which is, I think, worth knowing for everybody here, is that you cannot incentivize somebody to open an account more than 250 rupees. So, sometimes when Yeah, I can't say that, oh, open an account and get a ticket to the World Cup. You can't do that. So yeah, so there were some restrictions on that side related to how much you can incentivize somebody. But other
But
than
if
that,
it's a
the
lucky dip
RBI's,
kind of thing, even then you can't do it.
no, it has to be a game of skill. So I have
Huh,
to
one
ask
of
them,
those, write a slogan and then one lucky dip will happen. Then it's a skill.
but not for account opening. I can do it once he's opened the account, but I can't incentivize somebody more than 250 rupees to open an account with me. So that can be a little restrictive, but otherwise, I think the regulator is very accommodating.
But I think it's the mutual fund category which is probably a little more, monitored than the other bits. Is it?
Yeah. The mutual fund category is quite strict because they need that whole disclaimer to be read out and all that.
Yeah.
Because there somebody is investing in the markets. So for us, it's a little safer in the sense that the money is lying in your bank account or is being invested after you have given your approval. So to that extent, we're a little more protected.
Hmm. Yeah. We were having a conversation recently about this and about how there are so many Ponzi schemes, whatever, etc. So you got to be like really careful around mutual funds, especially for people who are not very educated around it. So it's kind of
Yeah. So the best advice I heard is, when I started investing 10 years back was when everybody is telling you to invest, that's a good time to sell. And when everybody is telling you to sell, that's a good time to buy.
hold.
So yeah. So I don't know how successful or unsuccessful I've been as an investor, but it's worked all right for me.
Well, considering that you're thinking of retiring in 3-4 years, I think you have done well.
No, I'm thinking of retiring because I'm just tired of the corporate
Then it
world.
won't chalega. Well, that's like a very plum excuse. No, now I have done my bit. अब ठीक है दूसरे करेंगे types.
अरे थक गए यार कितना काम करवाओगे अब इतने साल से कर रहे हैं थक गए अभी.
Nice. Anybody
Okay.
else? All right, then I must thank you, Gaurav, for your time and a lovely evening with us.
But thank you so much. I think it was
Again, somebody has
wonderful.
written in the chat. Are they doing
Yeah,
thank yous in the chat?
I think
Oh.
so. I think so. Yeah. Well, no, I just want to say thank you to everybody for joining. I know time is important, and especially I'm sure you had some client calling on the other side saying, "क्या कर रहे हो? मेरा काम क्यों नहीं कर रहे हो? What are you doing sitting time or wasting time on somebody else's speeches and gyan?"
Not
But
at all.
no. But thank you for joining in, and Amita, thanks for the opportunity. It was a lot of fun. I always enjoy talking to the team. So. Yeah, I'm available if anybody wants to reach out to me separately as well. Happy to chat with anyone.
Thank you so much. Really love talking to you.
Great. Thank you so
Bye.
much.
Have
Thank
a
you,
great
everyone.
evening, everyone.
Thank you
Bye,
for your
Gaurav.
time, Gaurav. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Gaurav.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you, Gaurav. Chat में लिखो.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you.
All right, peeps. Bye bye.